I think all of them are tests. Obviously we know what Boston is capable of and the talent that they have over there and, what they can do defensively when they set their mind to it, coming off a loss, having, the goals and expectations that they have for themselves and, the type of guys who don't like to lose and definitely don't like to lose 2 games in a row. So, we know we'll have our hands full, again, but all this stuff is a process for us, figuring out how we, use different combinations and how we face up against, the elite in this league.
Jetty Osman has had an incredible start to this season. I think he's actually got the highest net rating on the team right now. But in what ways have you felt him have the biggest impact on the floor?
I mean, obviously, the shots fall, and that changes the defense's coverages and creates space for a lot of people. But it's his overall impact on the game. Like you watch him get deflections, steals, he's out in transition, and he's got a spark plug personality that the other guys kind of feed off of. So it's like there's a spirit to him that, you don't put in analytics regardless of his net rating. Guys like to play with him when he's playing at that level.
Chris Fedor, Cleveland.com. JB, we talked the other night.
I can't hear you.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you need me to be louder? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We talked the other night about your defense. What do you like the most about the way that you guys have defended in the first 4 games?
Just the way the guys are competing. You know what I mean? Like guys are taking individual challenges against, really good players. You go the DeRozans of the world, the Bradley Beals, guys have taken different individual challenges. And then the group is always there to support them. And, the strength of our defense is the group. And everybody plays a particular role. And I think our guys have gone out and tried to execute that role, which helps us be a complete unit and complete on that end and not one guy having to carry the complete burden.
And to follow up a little bit on what Serena asked, you've been talking about throughout this year, you guys are going to go through new things and you're going to feel things and see things. Tonight's game against Boston on the road, given who they are, how big a part of that calculus is this?
It's an understanding kind of where you are. They play a pretty unique style because of, the smalls that they play, as much as they switch, the matchups that they create. Like you go and watch their Chicago game, and Smart played on guard, defended Vucevic quite a bit. So there's so many different things that they're capable of doing that it's an opportunity for us to figure out and kind of see, how can we attack it, because it'll be the first time that we've seen it. You go back, and obviously last year we were a different team in the way we played stylistically. The guys, the size we put on the floor and those types of things. So this is a little bit new for us. And then, you always take into account, missing Darius and how he would be used against a group like this. So, they're great tests for us, and they're just opportunities for us to figure it out. And again, when you get an opportunity against the best of the best, which I consider Boston to be, you go out there, you test yourself, it's will versus will. And, you get on film, areas where you can improve, things that work well for you, where you have advantages and those types of things.
Speaking of Darius, do you anticipate him playing Sunday against New York?
Still unsure, to be honest with you. We just don't have a, calculation on the swelling and how much time it'll take. He's improving, he's doing more and more on the floor, but, at this point it's really a safety issue and not putting him in a compromising situation.
Joe obviously stepped into a unique situation this year pretty suddenly. What were the challenges for you when you had something similar, and how did you kind of navigate it throughout that year?
It's hard. The job that he's been asked to do is extremely difficult. Obviously he's got a lot of talent that can help support him. And from the outside looking in, it looks like he's got a bunch of great dudes that want to help him be successful and want to go out and win. So that takes some of the pressure off of him. But until you sit in that seat, I don't care who you are, you don't know what it's like to sit in that seat. The pressures that you face, and a lot of those pressures are internal, right? Like he has a team that was in the finals, and wanting to get that team back to that same spot and even further. So a lot of times, you put pressure on yourself to do those things. So I think managing that pressure and managing, the outside expectations can be difficult. My interim year in Houston, we had gone to the Western Conference Finals the year before. So it's understanding those pressures that you put on yourself, but, trusting those people that are around you, and not trying to put that pressure solely on yourself. And that's not easy to do. But, again, strong organization, strong support group, great assistant coaches can kind of help navigate that as well.
Hi, JB. Thanks. Two questions. Until you coach a player, you really don't know. So I wanted to ask you about Donovan, how that your perceptions have changed. And then the second part of it is Kevin Love. His impact last season, was that like a revelation, the way he came back and was such a star in his role, for lack of a better understanding?
Yeah. The Donovan piece is like you admire his game from afar, and you watch and you see, how he can score the basketball. You know what I mean? Like one-on-one, how he can create space, the shots he can make, the finishes in traffic at the rim, all those things. But then when you're with him every single day, you see how complete of a basketball player he is. His ability to make passes, like there was a couple passes that he made cross court, to corner threes in our Orlando game where you're just like, there's a few guys in our league who can consistently make those passes on time. Like you listen to the way that he leads and the way he communicates, the way that he's earned his teammates' trust, the way that he just wants to fit in with his teammates. Those are things that you just don't see, when you're not with them every single day. So we've been pleased for sure with what he's been as a complete player and person and leader. He's already brought a lot to our team. With Kevin, Kevin allowed me to coach our team in a different way last year. When you have a guy who was a, 5-time All-Star, possible, likely first ballot Hall of Famer, champion, Olympic gold medalist, and his willingness to sacrifice and come off the bench allowed me to hold everybody else to a completely different standard. If you have a guy who's accomplished all that and he's willing to do what's best for the team, there's no reason anybody else shouldn't be willing to do what's best for the team. So he gave me, the freedom and the ability to do that from beginning to the end of the season. And, like you said, he embraced that. He found a way to be extremely impactful. He played every game with the exception of COVID, but there wasn't an injury. So I think it was a great situation for him as well. But, again, not a lot of guys who've accomplished the things that he's accomplished would have been willing to do that. And I think it speaks to his character and his want to make this team a better team.
I know you'd rather have Darius, but what have you learned about this group without him that will benefit you guys when you do have that whole core four together and can start to grow the chemistry you need to with those guys?
We are, and not to slight your question, but we're more than a core four, right? Like every single guy that we have is extremely valuable to what we do. I think, to separate kind of goes against, what we're trying to build. And it's like, we all have different roles and different burdens to bear. But we're all, as important. You lose an all-star point guard, obviously that's difficult to overcome. But what we've seen is other guys have the ability to step up in different ways. Playing Donovan as mostly a pure point guard at this point and watching him be able to score and orchestrate. Watching Karras, get 7-8 assists on, most nights, like him being a playmaker and a creator. So you see that there's things that other guys can do to kind of fill that void. And, our offense isn't necessarily an equal opportunity offense, but it's an offense that allows people to play to their strengths and be free in their strengths and in their roles. So, it gives people an opportunity to kind of showcase themselves a little bit more, which long term can be helpful when Darius comes back. Now you got a confident group because they know that they can contribute, on a high level when teams decide we're going to trap Darius and Donovan, not let anybody else play. You have guys who've had now experience and game reps of contributing at a high level. Appreciate you guys.